Welcome to another edition of Fall Rise Give. I'm one of the co-hosts. I'm Bob. That's Vipin. And today we're kind of wrapping up the year. It's kind of funny that 2025 is done in just a couple of days, and to me, it's crazy that we've already gotten to this point. It's going to be 2020. Next time we talk, it's going to be 2026.
Yeah, this has been a crazy year. In the Chinese calendar, they talk about the year of the snake. And the year of the snake is one of change, one of being honest with yourself, one of not being afraid of change, and shedding your skin, essentially, revealing more of your truth. And so I just read that on Facebook, one of the memes about the year of the snake. I read and it really described for me what the year was like. And the year of the horse is about movement and momentum. That's next year, starting in January. And so really about building upon what you started in 2025. And so it was a difficult year for a lot of people, and including myself. And it was also exciting in parts. And we're here at the end and going to plan out as much as we can plan, what God thinks of our plans, right? He throws them away and shows us reality. But we're gonna keep this podcast going and try to get it more and more focused towards the theme of kind of what we're talking about, living with purpose, money and mantra. The book that I'm trying to write, it's working title, and living a mindful life through meditation, chakras, and aligning with our true self.
So, hey, are you a part of? Do you have Spotify for music?
I don't yet. I need to get Spotify. I've been meaning to get it for the last couple of months.
Okay, so I have Spotify, and it gives you a rewind, and it tells you, the songs that you play and the artists that you play the most, and how many hours you've played the music and whatever. So it seems like everything nowadays is doing kind of rewind. So we use the software or the program Riverside.fm to do our podcast, and it sent me an email the other day and said that your most used word is up and ready to be made into a little video that you can post online. And so I went and looked at it. Do you know what our two biggest words are that we use the most?
Gosh, I hope they're good words.
One of them is a great word, and one of them is So what do you think the first word is?
I don't really know, Bob. I can't even think of a word that we
chakra.
Use.
So
good,
chakra.
Good.
It went through chakra. It said chakra.
All about energies, buddy. Yep.
It had like chakra said like 8,000 times. It's some ungodly number. And you know what our second biggest word is?
What?
Oh
jeez.
I doubt that that's really the second biggest word, but it was like
he. I went to Toastmasters after college for a number of years, and that's something that we try to use pauses instead of using and so it's sign of a bad communicator. It looks like we're bad communicators here.
Well, the funny thing is, because I did talk radio for many years, as you know, and I used to say quite a bit, and then a guy that I used to work with told me just don't say anything. So then you'd start talking, and instead of saying you just start saying, catch your thought, and then continue with it. But as a communicator, as a person that likes to hear noise in the background, I don't like that dead air. And so that I feel like it needs to be filled, and that's the reason why I think I say or more often than I probably should.
I think you're not alone. I think a lot of people don't like dead air, and I probably use the word and a lot. And. I try to pause a lot. I try to listen to people. I used to be a horrible listener. I used to hate dead air. I think I am much better at it today than I was. I really try to be very self-aware when I communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And try to actualize what I'm about to say, why I'm trying to say certain things. And communication is a big part of that for me. It's very helpful at work and professionally. And I keep saying the word and.
My dad says the word anyhow all the time.
Okay.
So when there's dead air in the conversation, anyhow. So did you think about this anyhow? And so it's funny, you kind of catch those things and you catch the words that we're thinking about, which kind of leads us to our topic for the day that I think we should talk about is how people see us and how we perceive ourselves. Because, maybe we think that we're great communicators, and other people are like, who are these clowns and what are they doing and why do they think they should be able to have a podcast?
I think it's interesting. We always perceive ourselves differently. I'm in my 50s. I don't always feel I'm in my 50s. I feel like somewhere in the middle age, a young person. You just never feel your age. A lot of times, I think we still think of ourselves as a younger person.
Right.
How we communicate with ourselves, the words that we use internally, the self-talk, determines a lot of our emotions, feelings. And the words that we use are really based on the beliefs that we have about ourselves, our upbringing, things that we read, our mindset. We've talked about the word spiritual mindset and try to incorporate spiritual principles into all things. I like to think I'm a enthusiastic, positive person. Sometimes I'm overly optimistic. And I like to think that other people think of me as a good, positive energy person. Yet, you shared a meme, right? And so you shared a meme about how other people see us. How other people see us is based on their beliefs, based on their upbringing, based on what's going on in their head right now, the judgments that we have, where they were located, where we're located now, what kind of clothes that we wear, how we interact with them, how we listen to them. It's really based on their self-talk. People are constantly projecting their own persona and reflecting back to us what's going on.
I think a lot of it too is that the way we make people feel. Because I mean, sometimes we could be a little gruff, and somebody might think, well, that person is an a-hole. And other times we might be pleasant, and they're like, oh, that person is great. And the person that they're talking to just dealt with us when we were gruff, and they're thinking, well, no, they're not. So I mean, here's two people. You're the same person, and one person thinks you're an asshole, and the other person thinks that you're a good person. I mean, so. It's really, and then you think that you're something completely different.
In work environments, they do these 360 feedback loops. Professionally, they ask them, how do you perceive this person in a collaborative way or in achiever category, or professionally, what is this person like? So getting feedback on yourself is really important. And it's really important for me to hear myself talk, to see what's coming out of my mouth, and to see how I might be perceived, and to be aware of that, the words that I use. One of my coworkers uses the word overwhelmed a lot, and he feels overwhelmed with all the work that he has to do, all the tasks that he has to accomplish. And I've been working with him on, instead of saying overwhelmed, use the word whelmed, to kind of shift his mindset a little bit. So the words that we choose have a lot of power. I learned that years ago. People describe themselves, God, I'm enraged. And all of a sudden this dramatic, powerful anger type feeling comes over you. Or in that same book or podcast or whatever I was listening to years ago, must have been an audiobook, the person said, use the word perturbed. When you're feeling dissatisfied and you want to react in a less manner, so I'm a little perturbed by that. Or I'm feeling a little angry, or I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. Using softer words to describe your emotions leads to a softer reaction. So how we communicate, the choice of words internally affects how we communicate externally, and be aware of how our words are landing to the other person.
That makes a lot of sense, because I know that sometimes somebody will say something and you end up not blowing up, but saying, well, that just really gets my goat, or just your facial expressions, or the angry, the anger, that flash of anger that you might have from somebody saying something. And it was something very vanilla that all of a sudden, like my son used to tell me all the time, it's like, Dad, mountains out of molehills.
Yeah.
And I used to get, and I think your kids probably bring this out in you more than anybody, or loved ones probably bring it out in you more than anybody, that, you can snap on a dime, and then somebody that you don't even know, you have patience for. And those are things that I've worked on myself.
Yeah.
Just to try to be a better person, a better man, a better partner. and not get, upset over stupid things, or using those softer words like you just mentioned. I've never been like, I'm overwhelmed, but I tend to be like, are you kidding me? And then
Yeah.
I say it, and then I just kind of back off. But I just want to get that burst of energy out, and then kind of calm down, calm
Yeah.
down after I say something. And that's how I perceive myself. Maybe others see me differently.
I find it interesting. Communication is based on the throat chakra, right? The fifth chakra.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it before. How we connect with people is through authenticity. And if we connect with authenticity, we try to bring people together. It's the most powerful frequency in the world based on the research that I've read and TED Talks and things like that I've heard. People really want to hear the authentic self, you to communicate your honesty. There's nothing more attractive than that. Being vulnerable, being honest about yourself, communicating how you feel, how you think and or believe in a way that shows I feel this, I am going through this. It may not have anything to do with what you said, and I'm reacting in this way. The word I've seen through therapy and other things that I've gone through over the years is the word trigger. People may say something like you said that could be vanilla, and in you, it creates a response that triggers you based on your self image, based on your past, and a judgment around this person or this situation. We carry all of these emotional baggage, negative feelings and experiences from the past. You can call it trauma, we can call it whatever. Those are the things that make us react in such a way that's energizing in a, I want to call, negative way. And so the thing that's most important, people call the 5 second rule, is just pause for 5 seconds. Don't say anything and respond in a way that you want to get what you want out of the situation.
I hadn't thought about that. When you said 5 second rule, I was thinking, well, if something drops on the floor and you're eating it, you got 5 seconds to pick it
I
up.
thought that's a 30 second rule.
Oh, that's a 5 second rule. I don't 30 seconds. Hell no. Oh no. Oh no.
Okay.
So how do you use that as how do you use that 5 second rule?
Well, I pause, right? And so I pause. I have a set of questions that I came up with as I was writing the book the other day. So these are the questions that I ask myself quite often, and I am working on this. Before I go to this set of questions and how I want to react in the right way, I have this mantra that I think is the base of my philosophy now. I've been working on this for a number of years. And the mantra is, I'm calm, centered, and loving. I repeat this set of phrases or affirmations, which are really mantras. And mantras are repeated over and over again. And we all know the word mantra in its sense. I always say, I'm calm, centered, and loving. And I have a bunch of other words and a bunch of other mantras, but that seems to be the one that resonates with my meditation technique and my meditation philosophy. Because once you're calm, centered, and loving, chances of you saying the wrong thing are really minimized. The key is to recognize when you're not calm, when you're not centered, and when you're not loving. So when you're in that state, you'll say the right thing. So here are the questions that I ask myself. Here are the most important questions that I think are really important in a situation to kind of manage your emotions or manage your tongue or how you want to react. First question is, how is the situation or event making me feel right now? If you can get in the habit of understanding how you're feeling before you react.
Right.
Essentially, understanding somebody said something and you want to have a reaction. You're feeling something. What is that feeling? So recognizing what you're feeling right now is really critical. So asking yourself, how is the situation or event making me feel right now? Second question that I like to ask myself is, do I want to continue feeling this way? Oftentimes, that's a really hard question in that moment to think and ask yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, if you develop that practice, you can recognize saying, do I want to feel that way? And the question really is asking is, what else do you want? Is it serving me to react in the way I want to? It was the third question. What within me is reacting in a way that doesn't serve me? So is it a negative feeling or reaction is not serving me? And the fourth question really is, what is the best way for me to react at this moment? It's been written, and we've talked about Christianity and Hinduism and all sorts of interesting philosophies that we've talked about. But as you know, I became a Christian back in the 80s and went through Catholicism and that practice. In the early 2000, I became or late 1999, I think I became a Catholic through the RCIA process. And the biggest thing that I learned about the Bible that touches me the most, it hits this topic. It's the book of James. James was a brother of Jesus, and he basically says that your tongue is like a sword. It can cut through and hurt people, and the damage can be everlasting. So be careful how you use your words, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really important to think of yourself. How am I feeling right now? Do I want to feel this way? What within me is reacting in a way that doesn't serve me? And then what is the best way for me to react at this moment? Sometimes it's just a matter of feeling something and not reacting, not doing anything. And that may frustrate people.
How good are you at that, though?
A lot better than I used to be. I was in an argument with someone over the holidays, and that person wanted me to react in an angry way. And they said, I want you to get charged up. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go there. I don't like this. I want this in the situation. And basically what I said was, I need your patience in the situation. Mm-hmm. I'm not where you want me to be. I would like to have more time to process and take actions based on what I think is right for me in this argument topic. And so I'm a lot better at it than I used to be. The key is not to be perfect, right? The key is to get better than you were yesterday. It's a daily exercise of progress, not perfection. Mm-hmm. So I'm calm, I'm centered, I'm loving. I do that a lot in business. I am so much better at work. I don't react. Sometimes managers will say certain things or executives will certain things go off topic, and I just pause. Think about what I'm going to say, and they'll say, well, do you understand what I'm saying? And I'll say yes. They're like, tell me more about that. Then I'll process. And my responses are a lot better than they used to be. Before I would just reiterate what I thought I heard. Now I'm just like, here's what I'm understanding. I may not be right on this situation, but this is what I'm gathering out of the situation. I got put in the spot a couple of weeks ago. On the 15th, I had a 3-hour workshop at work, and we had planned for it for 2 weeks in a row at work to communicate this analytic strategy around our product, the software product that I work on. And we were meeting with the executives for 3 hours, and we were going to communicate what we had worked on for 2 weeks prior to that. And the executive basically grilled us on it right away, and he said, that's not what I want. This is the way you're thinking about it is totally different. I want you to think about X, Y, and Z. And so instead of reacting in a negative way, waited for the person to be more descriptive, asking questions, really digging in deeper. We spent the 3 hours figuring out what he wanted and what the other executive wanted together, get them aligned. And one of the executives visually laid out, did the work of explaining visually to us what he wanted. And the next day, we spent 3 hours working through explaining. So oftentimes problems are a result of miscommunication.
Most of the time, that's what causes problems, I think.
Exactly. And so we have to go in. And so this time around, so that was on the 15th of December. On the 22nd of December, another product group went in front of the CEO and the executives and communicated this thing. And the CEO asked a lot of questions, and they weren't ready for it. So we did a little bit different than the other product group. I felt more understanding of what they wanted, but the CEO had a different idea, even though the president did. So the president is the one that we worked with before. What ended up happening was they canceled our meeting and said, I want you to figure these things out. And so my boss, who's a vice president, and I went through and worked through a template of questions, of these 10 questions, let's say. Went through and they presented to the team the next day on the 23rd and said, this is what the executives want. And one of the people said to us, how do you know the executives want this? Have you shown this to the executives? We don't want to start back in the circle like you did. It's just you and Vipin, the vice president and Vipin, talking about it. Did you communicate that up? So I asked my boss and I said, hey, can you please do me a favor? And this is where communication comes in, right? Being courageous enough to ask, can you please go to the president and ask if these questions are the right questions? This is 23rd of December, essentially less than last week, 5 days ago. And he did. And he sent me a message and he said, hey, I did talk to so-and-so and I did get the validation these are the right questions. So we were courageous enough to ask a question saying, is this what you really want? And so in communication, to clarify what we want, we get to that when we're in a non-emotional reactions system. When we're communicating in the way we want to communicate. Not judgmental, not offended. Yes, we had spent 2 or 3 weeks getting ready for it. We were not devastated, but we were disappointed that the work that we did, 10 people working on it together every morning for an hour plus, resulted in nothing. And here we are learning, clarifying in a non-emotional way, right? We got disappointed, yet we didn't say, this sucks, I hate my job, I hate the boss, blah, 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 right? The stories that we didn't make up. And so we tend to have a very highly functioning emotional management philosophy at work. That's not what I've always seen in my professional environments.
That's not what I've seen in you either. In the last 2 years of doing this,
yes,
you are probably more calm today than you were 2 years ago when we did this. I mean, just listening to your voice right now,
yeah,
you're very calm and to the point rather than scattered and irritated, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. I practice what I preach and I'm getting better at it more and more. I don't think I had the mantra, I'm calm, centered, and loving practice like daily 2 years ago. I had other things that I was working on, but at the base of who you are as a human being, you are your beliefs, your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts. How you communicate that out to the world depends on the situation. And if you're calm, centered, and loving, you probably are not going to be judgmental, wanting to say negative things to other people or hurt other people. You're going to be wanting to be courageous and ask difficult questions in a professional / kind way, kind in a personal situation, professional meaning it can be a tough situation asking difficult questions, right? So the more we can manage our communication when we're calm, centered, and loving, the better we can get what we want. That's the key, right, Bob? Is getting what we want.
I agree.
What's serving us? What's serving
Right.
us is really important to get clear. And most of the times, we want to come out of a situation getting what we want, which is to feel good about the work that we did, get validation, and go to the next step, or in a relationship, get a loving, kind feeling around it, right? And so I feel this holiday season, I was talking to you before we started, I had an amazing holiday with my family because everybody was kind and getting along and loving to each other. There were difficult situations over the holidays, they always are. And I was reminded last year things were not well. Vipin got triggered and Vipin went off and told his family member this shitty situation and reacted in a way that he was basically being an ass. And it sucked to hear that only a year ago, that I said that to a family member. But a family member, like you said, and your kids tend to trigger us the most than any situation. In a professional environment, they fire your ass, and that's your livelihood.
Oh yeah, you're done at that point. But that's the nice thing though about family is that, you can mess up a million times and hopefully they'll still welcome you back in open arms and still love you. Whereas, you mess up a couple of times at work and it's like, see you later, alligator. We don't need this in here anymore. But at least your family gives you an opportunity to make an ass of yourself many, 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 many times,
And the key word is hopefully, right? Because sometimes when they're adults, they're like, I'm sick of mom and dad, or I'm sick of my brother, or I'm sick of my sister, or sick of my aunt.
Yep.
I don't want the negative energy.
It's okay to walk away from your family. If your family is bringing you down and not cool, it's okay to walk away from them too. I'm not saying to stick around if that's negative for you or bad for you.
We've talked about this a lot. We've talked about the fourth chakra, like forgiving yourself and forgiving others. You made the mistake, own up to it, be accountable, and say, I'm really sorry, deeply sorry that I made the mistake. Don't say my bad, because that just lightens it up and says, oh, my bad, and then it's just an excuse and you just go forward. No, own up to it. Say, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I'm an emotional basket case at times. I may have anxiety issues and these kind of things that mental health wise that I work through. And I was off balance. And I'm sorry. And this is what I'm doing to fix it now. I will treat you with respect. I will communicate in such a way that I'm calm, centered, and loving.
The bonus thing too is that your kids knew you when they were just this big, and now they're an adult, and they realize that people are people. Mom and dad were mom and dad, and the all knowing, all loving person when they were little. And then as they start growing and getting to be the same size as you and then bigger than you, their minds expand too. And then they realize that, mom and dad are just people.
Yeah.
We have the great job of being their parents, but at the same time, we're also only human. So we also make mistakes. We try to correct them. We try to do the best job that we can do. We're not perfect. Please forgive us for the stupid stuff that we've done and said and acted on and overreacted on. And I'm lucky at the point now in my kids' lives. My kids are 24, 27, and 30, that they love and respect me as a person and as their dad,
Yeah. And you're a very lucky man for that. A lot of people don't have that. I had a friend who recently passed away. He had a lot of emotional problems. He also was addicted to alcohol. And he became sober, and he admitted that he had treated his kids the wrong way, that he was a total asshole. He was very selfish and all of this stuff, and he felt regretful for it. But his family had shut him out 10 years ago, and his kids wouldn't talk to him. His grandkids he couldn't see. Sometimes the damage can be so deep, it'll take years to get it back. It takes time for people. That's why I say the communication, the tongue, is like a sword. It will cut through and cause so much pain and harm. It can really hurt relationships, both professional and personal. So how do you solve for that? Those tools that I brought up in those questions are important. But really, to simplify it all, calm, centered, and loving, and think about, how am I reacting? What's in the situation that's making me react this way? Is it serving me to react the way I want to react? And how do I want to react? How can I use this situation to get what I want?
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Fall, Rise, Give, where we explore stories of resilience, growth, and giving back. If you enjoyed today's episode, please visit our website at www.fallrisegive.com. Also, consider subscribing to our podcast on your favorite platform and leaving us a review. Your feedback helps us to continue to bring you inspiring stories. Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember, every fall is a chance to rise, and every rise is an opportunity to give. Until next time, keep falling, rising, and giving. This is Fall, Rise, Give, produced by podcastforhire.com. Thank you for listening.